everybody. Good evening to you, and welcome again to another episode of Transcendent. Transcendent is the weekly Facebook broadcast of San Antonio in black, white, and brown. SABWB is a leadership space. It's a space designed to pull together influencers from every race, position, and perspective to build trusting relationships with each other, and then collaborate both on the value and the implementation of principles that shape the culture. So ultimately, our goal at SABWB is to shape the culture. But we realize that the culture is not shaped by a single pillar of influence alone. Let's say the pulpit, for example, that the culture must be shaped by a combination of leaders in different spheres of influence to bring to bear the principles of the kingdom of God in all of those expressions of the culture. And those principles will prove themselves to be superlative to anything else in operation because they come from the mind of an omniscient God. And you and I have an opportunity to join together at SABWB and see that forged and pushed forward here in the city of San Antonio. Each week, we take the issues of the day and bring them into a biblical and a spiritual perspective to give you, the body of Christ, and you, the influencers, at your own levels, because all of us are influencers to some degree. All of us don't have the same measure of influence, but all of us have the responsibility to influence. And so we want to enhance that ability at all levels. We do some things on our website to make sure that that happens for you. So I want to just thank you, first of all, for being with us again on this particular episode. And I want to take the time, as I do in every broadcast, to encourage your partnership. I'm glad to say that between mid-May and now that our partnership base has increased by somewhere near 20%. We're thankful for that. We need to continue to increase and multiply. In fact, this week, I had an opportunity to have lunch with one of our partners. It was yesterday, in fact, one of our partners, and to deliver to him this partnership gift package that I'm about to introduce to you. Man, it was a great lunch. We met at Blanco Barbecue, and we were friends, and I was able to catch up with him in terms of what the Lord is doing in his life, and he with me with what's happening with SABWB. He's our monthly partner, and I'm so grateful for it. Your partnership is as less as $10 a month. This particular partner supports us at $100 a month because he doesn't miss it. And whatever you don't miss, whether it's 100 or 500 or 10, become our monthly partner by the ways that you see on the screen there. But I want to introduce to you the gift package that I was able to deliver to him yesterday. First, I want to talk to you about this. I want to talk to you about the koozie. It's hot summers in San Antonio. SABWB's logo is on the koozie, and it's a conversation piece. You can tell them, oh yeah, SABWB, that's that leadership space where multi-races and multi-cultures come together and they agree on things that they can work together to do in the culture, to shape the culture. You want to be a part of that, become a partner as I am, you would say, as I am, to become a partner like I am. And so only cost me $10 a month, and yet together we're seeing the city change its course. I'm so glad that you do that with your little conversation starter on the koozie. Keeps your cold drinks cold and keep your hands from being wet and slippery. But then there is also in there a cup like the one I have when I have my drink in tonight. Oh, that's good. What will be in this cup is a brand of coffee that you're going to stop drinking whatever coffee it is you're drinking. Really, this cup taste on this upcoming Be Easy coffee. The cup taste is 86 to 90%. That is in a very high range, even in the low 90s. Some would gauge it in the low 90s, 90, 91, 92%. That's almost a perfect cup of coffee. We have partnerships with growers in the nation of Rwanda, and developing partnerships in Malawi, to bring to you here in San Antonio, even a San Antonio blend of Be Easy coffee, and you'll be able to put it right here in your coffee cup. And you partners will get some exclusive, you SABWB partners will get some exclusive discounts on your bag of coffee that's more than coffee. It's changing nations. You'll have that, and you'll already have a cup to put it in because it's part of your gift package. So you have a koozie, you have a coffee cup, and while you're sipping on that premium coffee, you can read 2 books that's also a part of your gift package: Heaven on Earth and The Kingdom at War. Heaven on Earth and The Kingdom at War. These books are written by Alan Vincent, who is with the Lord now, one of the most prolific servants of the Lord in our time frame. And I don't say that because he's with the Lord. I said it when he was here. An incredible teacher of the Word of God, insightful. God used him to shake nations. Literally thousands of churches, over 5,000 churches, have been spawned out of what has happened with his life and his wife, Eileen Vincent, who is still living back in the UK, who our executive director just visited in the UK and had a wonderful time together. What a beautiful relationship that is to witness between Natalie Hardy and Eileen Vincent. By the way, there's a new book written that she just finished by him, and I think it's available in Amazon bookstores. Natalie, if you're watching, you can put that in the comments so people can know how to get a hold of Alan's book as well. So I want to just invite you to become our partner. There's a lot going on. I'm making sure that I'm at where you are as our viewers, so that I can pick up on you and read some of your comments as we're going forward with this tonight. I'm so thankful that you have taken the opportunity to be with us, and I'm coming up on it. There it is, right there. There you are, right there. There you are. So get on and let some other people know that you're on, and like and share the information. Melba, thanks for coming on. Mary Bell, thanks for being with us tonight as well. And yes, and let other people know you're there so they can view as you are viewing. Couple things. That's the gift package. To get that out of the way, we're gonna encourage you to. And if you want to have lunch with me and let me deliver your gift package to you, I'd be glad to do that as well. So I look forward to your participation, because these things are of extreme value to you, especially in the times that we're right now in, particularly the sequel of the book, The Kingdom at War. The easiest way to be taken in battle is to not know that you're in a war. The easiest way to be overcome is to not know you're in it. And we're in the midst of a battle right now in the culture. And someone is going to shape the culture. Someone is going to win. It should be the body of Christ. So I'm grateful that you and I have the opportunity to put our heads and hearts together where those things are concerned, and see the purposes of God fulfilled as you become our partner. And if you want me to have lunch with you and deliver it to you, I'll be glad to do that. Otherwise, you can come here to the office and come pick it up. If you want us to ship it, we'll do that at your cost. We're not big enough yet to ship it at our cost, so we'll ship it at your cost to you wherever in the world or in the city that you would like to have it. But we want to give you that gift package because it's your way of partnering with us and our way of partnering with you, giving you something of value that's certainly going to impact your spiritual life positively and impact the way you think and the way you operate in the natural world. This gift set, this koozie and this cup, getting you ready for your Be Easy coffee that's going to change your whole coffee life. It's going to change your coffee life. It's going to change your coffee life. And I'm so glad that you are participating with us in that. Tonight I have what I have in my cup is some sparkling strawberry kiwi. I think this belongs either to Jonathan or Natalie. I'll replace it tomorrow. But it's good. It's good. Whoever it is good. I want to go to commercial with you now. Our executive director, Natalie Hart, is going to come and invite you into our end of week schedule. 4 days out of the week, we meet with those who are in spheres of influence. We're working hard to make sure that we're consistently doing that. Meeting with political and legal people on Mondays, business people on Tuesdays, sports and entertainment folks on Wednesday, ministry leaders on Thursdays, but on Fridays, we do what we know is most important in the realm of the kingdom of God. We pray. Our executive director, Natalie Hardy, leads us in our prayer effort from this table. You'll get used to the seeing the photo behind me, which is painted by a local co-pastor, Peggy Irwin. She's very skilled, and she painted this for Eileen and Natalie when City Reachers operated in this building, and we have taken up some of the mantle of City Reachers, and Peggy or City Reachers blessed us with that. Peggy Irwin blessed City Reachers with it. City Reachers blessed us with it to have it as inspiration. That the Lion of the tribe of Judah is praying over, is roaring over the city of San Antonio. Natalie's going to come to invite you into that prayer session every Friday from 10 to 11 a.m. If you can be physically here in the office at 8023 Vantage Drive, Suite 313, you are welcome to come. If you cannot be here, then catch us live on Facebook, SABWBTX, at the same time, 10 to 11 on Fridays, because it is a live Facebook broadcast. If you can't catch it live, it is archived on that same page, SABWBTX, and you can go back and listen and pray with us at any time. But here's our executive director, Natalie Hardy, inviting you personally to come join us at Fridays at 10 for I Pray.
Hello, my name is Natalie Hardy from SABWB, San Antonio in Black, White, and Brown. Every Friday morning at 10 a.m., we are at this table seeking the face of God on behalf of our city. And if you didn't know that, I wanted you to know so that you can tune in with us and pray with us, whether we do it on that same time or after the fact, and look at a broadcast and pray with us after the fact. Every voice counts. So join with us on Friday mornings, and we look forward to praying with you. Bless you. Bye-bye.
So join us, whether you can join us live here on location in the building or live on Facebook, or you can also archive, because the I Pray experiences are archived. You can go back and pray with us at any time. We understand the power of prayer. We understand agreement in prayer causes the synergism of spiritual power, and it moves things. It causes things on earth. Prayer changes us, but prayer also changes things. It involves the supernatural hand of God to get involved with us in these pursuits. Martine, thanks for jumping on tonight as well. Bless you guys. We'll broadcast from several platforms here, and we want you to join in this conversation because this is a monster conversation. There's a lot happening in the world, if you haven't noticed. The residence of a former president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, was raided. As his residence, Mar-a-Lago is a golf resort, but it's also his personal residence. And the FBI has raided his home, just as they did the home of Roger Stone, coming into a house with an ailing wife and coming in with guns blaring. You know that it's grandstanding, and it's meant to intimidate, to silence. Never before in the history of the United States have a former president's personal residence been raided by forces from the Justice Department. It's almost like this is an America we know nothing about, and it will continue until leaders stand up. This is why this platform, SABWB, and many others like it, is so important right now, because it does become an operating platform for First Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32. This is our staff devotion at Faith Outreach Center was on that this morning. Pastor Anthony Walker always delivers a wonderful devotional, And this morning talked about that verse, the sons of Issachar, who knew who had understanding of the times and knew what Israel ought to do. And he set that up beautifully for us. There's a lot going on in the world, and somebody needs to be able to give clear direction, and someone needs to be able to take clear direction and know what actions we need to take to stem the tide of wickedness that is taking place under the guise, the power wielding is taking place under the guise of justice, when it is in fact just the opposite. It is a gross injustice for the department to do what it has done against this former president. He is being positioned. He's a Jehu. He's a modern day Jehu. Go read that in the First Kings. Jehu was a mixed bag. He was not a guy that everybody would like. Just as this president, his personality kind of rubs people the wrong way, and then he says some things and does some things that help you not like him. And yet, within the context of his wheelhouse, his ability and knowledge, there is a gift to both know how the inner workings of a system, because of his billionaire status in life. He's been a part of the billionaire conversations, and he's been a part of that global elitist world because of his money status and his ability to traffic in that world. Unlike any other presidential candidate that we've had before, makes him uniquely qualified to address the swamp, if you will. And when you start addressing the swamp creatures come out. And you'll find the swamp creatures existed where you didn't even know they were. Sort of like that guy who sits in the parking lot, and he's covered, looks like a bush until you get close to him, and then he flashes and scares the bejeebers out of you. Those swamp creatures are kind of embedded all over the place, and when their usual modus operandi is threatened by somebody who knows what to do and knows how to threaten it, then they come after you with all kinds of forces. Not to mention that, so Mar-a-Lago is raided by the FBI. That ought to be all the more reason for us to wake up and see, hey, this is way out of hand, and to defend those who are being offended, and put both your prayer and your thought behind what needs to, and your action behind what needs to be done in order to level the playing field again in America. So you got that on the one. Then you have the IRS having hired 80,000 new agents. 80,000. Listen, I'm telling you, this stuff is crazy, man. 80,000 new agents who their target is the middle class. So if you made close to 70 grand last year, I would say probably from 120 grand downward until you reach the poverty level, you're the target for those 80,000 brand new agents, IRS agents, to come and harass you with the power of the state. And then there's the passing of laws that is going after people's retirement. They're getting to closer retirement age, and now the government wants to raise trillions of dollars, and they're going after your retirement to get it done, the stuff you've worked hard for. Right here in America, this sounds like a third world, sounds like a banana republic kind of thing going on. But it's happening right here in our United States, and right here under our noses. So we have to take some action as the sons of Issachar to know what Israel ought to do in times like this. And so that's why SABWB becomes very important to you. Tonight, I want to talk to you about another battlefront. So we got the Mar-a-Lago thing going on. We have the IRS thing going on, and we'll do shows on those going forward. But tonight, I want to talk to you about the importance of school choice. Why is school choice so important? Is it really important? And if it is, why is it? Well, I want to say to you that Abraham Lincoln foresaw the value of school choice and foresaw the impact of an educational process and system. And he coined the importance of that system with this phrase. I want you to listen. I want you to consider it. Then you and I are going to have to act. we are already acting, but I'm calling you out for more action because none of us are going to be able to accomplish these things alone. It's going to take a groundswell of people who are not afraid to have an opinion. And it doesn't mean that your opinion is right. It does mean that you're thinking enough to have one, that you're actually thinking enough to have an opinion about something. Opinion beyond the sound bites that you may get on your local uh, news networks. Do some research on your own, get partnered up with people who do research on their own, people like us here at SABWB, and be able to tune in and listen and help and decipher some of the stuff that's happening in the culture. And you become an agent of change in that culture. So there's Mar-a-Lago, there's the IRS, and school choice now. What's so important about school choice? Abraham Lincoln said that the philosophy in the classroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. What you see is the halls of government in Austin. That's what's playing before you right now. And those folks that you see have their People's Movement shirt on. They're there because we knew something was going down where school choice was concerned. And so does the legislators in the state of Texas. They know something is going on. So we made a trip last week, the 26th of July. We made it up to Austin. And when we got there, we found that those who were trying to keep school choice out of Texas were sitting in the lobbies and singing songs, and the room that the educational committee, we're not in session right now. We're not in session, but the educational committee called a special session, I believe due in part to what just happened in the state of Arizona. Arizona is a swing state, and man, it is making some waves right now. Recently, that state is making some waves. Recently, as you know, Carrie Lake won her bid as governor of the state. I think it's governor, and won by a landslide. They strategically placed their votes so that the votes could not be tampered with, and she's come out on top. She's a Trump endorsed candidate, and has come out on top again. Every time that there is an agenda, a Trump endorsed candidate that's running, it's actually a Trump that's on the ballot, and he's winning across the country. And so there's a nervousness in the camp because this is Jehu. He knows where the bodies are buried, and he's coming after them. And so it's an opportunity. He's coming after those who protect their own systems, Republicans and Democrats. This is really way beyond a partisan thing now. It's way beyond that. It has now moved into how deeply entrenched the deep state structure is all over, and the forces that the deep state can formulate and launch in your direction in order to silence you and cause fear and intimidation. What you have to do as these people have done, you have to get involved in the process. And I want to talk to you about the importance of school choice. What did I say? Abraham Lincoln said, the philosophy in the classroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. So I want to introduce you now to one. I'll just tell you, in the House, there is an educational committee. We have looked at, we being a working group that is working towards school choice. This is what thrills me about. This is what thrills me about being in this space. You get to meet incredible people who are doing incredible stuff, and then you get to, as far as we are concerned, you get to be an agency that helps call those people to the same table and work together and start synergizing our energies and seeing change made, seeing the culture shaped, because ultimately we want to shape the culture. If you want to be a culture shaper, become our partner, because we can be your voice and we can be your hand extended, and we can be your sons of Issachar type actors that know what needs to be done effectively in order to combat things that are trying to totally alter our way of life, and to be those things that move the cultural ball forward toward reshaping us into the kind of nation that we are destined to be, and away from what we're becoming as the swamp creatures seek to intimidate everybody and move you in a certain direction. So your partnership becomes like super important. I'm going to introduce you to 13 members of the committee. I'm not going to introduce you to all 13 of them, but we have seen, we've studied them. And I say we, I'm talking about Crystal King with Parents United for Freedom, an organization, PUF is the acronym, Parents United for Freedom. You're going to hear in some of the video that I will be sharing with you a mother who from an organization called Moms for Liberty that has chapters in almost 50 states now. In 1 year's time, over 100,000 members, and they're moms who are just, they had it, they're up to here with it. You'll hear from Moms for Liberty, because we're working with the Texas representative here at SABWB. We're working with the Texas arm of that as we push toward school choice and gain school choice for the 5 million students in Texas, just as they did for the close to 3 million students in the state of Arizona just a few months ago. Now, why is it important to the agenda that they keep students locked in and keep students controlled? Why is that important? Because whatever philosophy they feed them in the classroom will become established in government a generation away. So they're not dumb. They're doing what it takes to perpetuate their strategy, and that is to feed it to a generation and convince a generation of its validity. And it is invalid, but they're convincing a generation that they need it. But light in my office just went out. I don't like that light out. Let me just go turn it on. I'll be right back. I know this is unconventional, but I'm going to go turn it on. It's I'm in one of these motion sensitive lighted offices. You know, you sit, if nobody's in there after a while, the light goes out. So that's what's going on. And you and I have to work together with organizations like PUF, like Moms for Liberty, like Liberty for the Kids, like American Federation of Children. We're working with all of them here at SABWB. We're working with all of those organizations to make sure that we achieve school choice. Because when we can take that juggernaut of a monster down called the public school system that has our children sequestered 8+ hours a day and putting inside their mind whatever they want to feed them, it becomes important for us to be able to break that up. There's a lot of, and the monster is so big, you can't do it with a single silver bullet, as it were. You have to come at it from a lot of angles, but we're seeing this fight underway. And if you're a fighter, man, lady, listen to me. I know Moms for Liberty, you guys are packed with fighters. If you're willing to see our children free, this is really one of the premier places of captivity that children are being free from. Roe v. Wade was overturned, and all of that is another whole monster right there, because you have leaders in municipalities like San Antonio who want to continue to promote the death of the innocent in the womb by a resolution they passed just last week. But on my Facebook page, you'll see that the Catholic Archbishop of San Antonio, we got several archbishops here. One is in the person of Archbishop David Michael Copeland. He's not Catholic, but he comes out of a historical order, and God has given him great weight and responsibility in this city, and we're glad he's here. I'm glad to be serving with him in the city of San Antonio. A lot going on. But this Catholic Archbishop wrote a masterful letter. I put it on my page, my personal Facebook page. Go out and read it. This guy he laid it down, man, and gave the city council a chastisement of trying to pass off its efforts to support abortion, calling it health care. And he denounces that whole thing. Great job. Just read it when you get a chance. But if the agenda is going to continue, they have to have a company of people, our children, that they continue to push this stuff into their minds, to brainwash them into thinking a certain thing at the school level, so that when they become adults, they don't have any problem with passing laws that articulate the same thing. So I want the producer to bring up the face of one of those members. His name is Representative Tallarico. He's on the educational committee. He's a bright-looking young man. You see there his district office. You see that? His district office is right there. And if you can put his district office phone number up too, that would be amazing. His name is Tallarico. I'm about to play a video, not now, but in a few moments, of him. And I want you to hear how he set them up. And then he made some of the most ridiculous statements that any representative should ever make, comparing the Bible to some of the smut material that you will hear in Section 3 that a parent read before them. He compares the Bible to that kind of smut. I mean, as you know, if you've been around me, I'm not a person who's afraid to say what I believe is truth. And whether it's liked or not liked has never been an issue with me. What is an issue with me is that it endorses God's word and aligns with God's principles. If I can see that it does that, I will say it. And if it's outside of that, if it contradicts it, I will also say that. So I don't generally have a problem doing that. But I am embarrassed. I'm completely embarrassed to have to play for you in Section 3 of our talk tonight a portion of the textbook that one of the parents read before this committee. And the young man whose picture you just saw, just put his picture up one more time. This young man did one of the most incredulous things a representative should ever do. He wiggled them around, he manipulated them actually, into his being able to compare the Holy Bible and some content in the Bible. And I'll say some things about the content of the Bible in a minute. But he wanted to compare it to the smut that this lady that you'll hear in Section 3 will be read. Let's play that video where Tallarico makes this statement about the Bible. I think it's a little over 2 minutes long, so listen to this, and right after it, I'll be back.
The SBOE can only recommend textbooks, and that creates a problem. We have all of these parents, come and testify at the State Board of Education on these textbooks to make sure that they're in alignment with the TEKS and with what they testified on earlier in the proclamation. However, the school district can do whatever they want. And so you have some textbooks that are adopted at the State Board of Education level, and schools can adopt something completely different. We need to return the power back to the State Board of Education to actually recommend school books to the schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Castle. Any questions to Ms. Castle? I think Mr. Tallarico has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Castle, we both know each other, and you're not a citizen here to testify. You represent an organization, so I want to make sure we...
Yes, but I am a citizen of Austin.
Yes, sorry. But you're here in your capacity with Texas Values.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So I just want to ask a few questions. And I do agree with you about improving the grievance process, ensuring parents are getting a response, increasing transparency, all things that I think a lot of the members on this committee want to work on. I want to talk about the book banning, though. Do you believe there is pornography in our libraries here in Texas?
From what I've heard from parents and from the list of 300 books that your colleague, Representative Krause, published, if you look at those books, then yes, I do believe that.
And how do you define pornography?
Pornography would exist as any sexual explicit material that would be obscene. And of course, those standards would probably be heightened for children as well.
So I know there were a few examples provided, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding from your perspective. If a book were to, for instance, have a scene where there's incest, or a daughter is having sex with their father, would that be, under your definition of pornography, something we got to get rid of?
Absolutely. And so if that were in a book for school-age children, then that book shouldn't be taught to children.
So the reason I ask is that I just described a scene from Genesis, the Holy Bible, one of the most important books in my life. And the reason I think the Holy Bible, along with any major religious text, should be present in our school libraries, and I hope everyone would agree with that. My point is that context matters, right? You could look at the Michelangelo's statue of David and say it's full frontal nudity, or you could say it's one of the greatest pieces of art ever created by a human being. You could look at Ulysses by James Joyce, probably arguably the greatest novel ever written, and it has some pretty explicit sexual passages. Now, people of good faith, I think, can have a conversation about what's age appropriate. And I think if that's the goal here, then all of us should be able to come together and have that conversation. What we shouldn't do is use inflammatory, conspiratorial language like pornography, like groomers, when that's just not the case. And that, to me, suggests that maybe this is a larger effort to discredit or defund public education. We've already heard a lot about school choice in connection with this. So my question to you is, how do we differentiate between something in our schools that is of value to our students and something that would be pornography, which is legal to share with minors?
Well, I would first say that, those terms were not used in my testimony, so it's going to be hard for me to, respond to you in that way since I didn't use the term groomer or pornography. So I would like to make that clear on the record. Secondly, I would encourage you to take a look at the social studies standards even as they stand, because it doesn't seem like they're teaching the Bible in public schools anyway. So I don't see that would be an issue. And third of all, even when it comes to teaching religious texts, they don't teach it in the entirety. They don't teach verse by verse. They're not receiving a theology lesson. So if there's any reference to the Bible, it would probably be a reference to maybe a parable that Jesus taught. So they wouldn't be going verse by verse. And so if they felt like something was inappropriate in the Bible, for the child that age, then they probably wouldn't read it. So that's not happening in school either. As far as to like statues and different artworks, I think there has been discussion over time about how that is age appropriate. So if you have a high school who's probably going on, let's say, a foreign exchange trip, and they're viewing the statue of David or something, there have been provisions in law with obscenity, and we currently have the exemption for education standards. So that might fall into that. But at the same time, a parent would have the ability to say, whether or not they would want their child to even see the statue of David as well.
So, and I want us to keep moving because I know we have a long night ahead of us. But in the beginning of my questioning, you said you believe pornography was being pushed in our libraries across Texas, which is a huge claim to make and one that doesn't have any factual evidence to back it up.
It has factual evidence because your former colleague published a list of 300 books that you can look up that he has, and the Attorney General has that list as well.
Right.
Also, you had parents testify tonight of different books that their children have purchased for school.
He set them up to say, well, a book that would have incest in it, do you think that's proper for children? And she said no. Then he said, well, the Bible has it. What a slick little trick. But you will see in the third section that the Bible contains absolutely nothing that is akin to the kind of sexually explicit material that they're pushing forth as education in our children. Nothing even close to it. While the Bible does talk about illicit sexual activity, it doesn't talk about it in a manner that condones or glorifies it. The text do. I mean, for this representative, and I want the producer to put his face and his name back up, because I want you to call his district office put his face and his name back on the screen so that the people can call his district office and let him know that was grossly inappropriate for you to make any comparison between the content that is in the Holy Bible with what you're going to hear in the third section of this program. In fact, I'm gonna go to commercial now. When I come back, I'll take you into what one of the parents read before the committee in Austin a couple of weeks ago, and I'm gonna tell you something about what the arrangement is to keep the voice of the governed out of the halls of government. Let's go to this commercial, and I'll be right back. Hello, everyone. I'm Charles Flowers, your host for Transcendent. Transcendent is SABWB's online weekly broadcast aired here on Influence's platform. Join me and other key leaders from various pillars of influence which shape the culture of San Antonio for innovative and strategic dialogue. Each week, we will address core community values and principles that need to be restored and re-implemented into our culture of our great city. This may often necessitate identifying where these values and principles are being compromised and reflecting on the damaging impact that such actions may have if left unaddressed. But ultimately, we want to take the conversation beyond ordinary limits, exceed the normative boundaries, and implement bold, time-tested principles across the pillars of influence in our city, which will result in the positive transformation of the culture. I look forward to visiting with you each week here on Transcendent. That time is right now. The time for us to unite and combine our efforts, that time is right now. So my encouragement to you is, I'll come back at the end of this and encourage your partnership. But I want to take you into a parent now. We went to Austin. The committee said they're going to hold a meeting at 10, and they had what they call invited guests to speak. This is at 10 o'clock. Thankfully, Texas Public Policy Foundation, who's also another partner with SABWB in this effort to achieve school choice in Texas. And you remember that Tallarico said that school choice is associated with book banning and defunding public education, none of which is true. I mean, there's just a whole barrage of lies that is coming forth and being led by this bright-looking young man from Round Rock, Texas. I put his information up. I'm going to ask the producer to put it up again in a moment so that you can make calls to that number and let his district office know that what he said and did was incredibly inappropriate and that no one with that mindset should be involved in the healthy development of the educational process of our children. No one with the mindset that he has should be involved with the healthy development of the educational process of our children. You do have to become that forceful now. Now, don't go cussing, don't go slamming him and acting unreasonable, but do make the call and let him know that he crossed the line when he tried to turn the content of the Holy Bible into some of this smut that you're about to hear right now. That's his number. His number's on the screen and his address. There's a non-legislative strategy that we're putting forth, that we're actually going to be making visits to his Round Rock office to let him know and let his constituents know, get a crowd of people out in front of his office, voting people from his district for them to know that what he has said and done is not acceptable and is very inappropriate and offensive to many who hold to, codes of decency, moral codes of decency in their own context. Now I want to take you to a parent who just read something before the committee, and it's embarrassing. I'm actually embarrassed to have to play it for you, but here it is. I want you to hear what this parent said and read before the educational committee just last week in Austin, and I'll come right back to you after about a 2-minute video is played somewhere around that time frame.
I was a Texas public school teacher and school administrator. I've been a homeschool parent and a public school parent, but the most important job God has given me is being a mom. Having an occasional PTO meeting is not truly engaging parental involvement. Parents are and should be recognized as a primary decision maker in their child's education. When I was a teacher and school administrator, I relied heavily on parental support, especially when it came to behavioral concerns. When schools don't build relationships with parents, children will not be as successful academically and tend to have more behavioral problems. My parental rights are slowly being ripped from my hands, even though the U.S. and Texas Constitution, along with Chapter 26 of the Texas Education Code, give me the right to raise my children in the way that I see religiously and morally fit. It is not the public school's job. When I question sexually explicit library books and curriculum in my children's school, I am called an extremist. Distributing obscene materials to children is against the law for you and me, but our schools are providing sexually explicit books to children, and they're doing this under the protection of the obscenity exemption for education, which must be repealed in 2023. I ask each of you to listen as I read a portion of a book in my child's school, The Bluest Eye. I ask that if any of you could tell me the literary or educational value that my child gets from reading this book about a serial pedophile that rapes his own 8-year-old daughter in graphic detail. This is explicit, so the confused mixture of his memories of Pauline and the doing of a wild and forbidden thing excited him, and a bolt of desire ran down his genitals, giving it length and softening the lips of his anus. He wanted to F her tenderly. The tightness of her vagina was more than he could bear. His soul seemed to slip down into his guts and fly out into her, and the gigantic thrust he made into her then provoked the only sound that she made. Removing himself from her was so painful to him, he cut it short and snatched his genitals out of her dry harbor of her vagina. This book violates the Texas Penal Code and legally should not be distributed to children, but in Texas, that's exactly what's happening. Parents are having to fight for the purity and innocence of their children to be preserved just to be mocked, ignored, and disrespected, even by some of the members of this committee. Why are there people in this world that are so passionately want to hurt children? How am I supposed to feel good about sending my children to school that do not remove these illegal materials immediately? Common sense laws and school policies protecting children should be a top priority for every legislator in 2023. I appreciate your time, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you had to listen to that. But what you needed to hear firsthand was the actual content that's being passed off by the Texas, in some Texas school districts, as sex education. A written account of the rape of an 8-year-old daughter by her father. And you will have Talarico put his picture up one more time. Compare that filth to accounts in the Holy Scripture. His number is on the screen. And you have the address of his Round Rock office. We're going to make a visit to his Round Rock office to express to him how far out of bounds such a comment would be made to try to protect the system that wants to expose that kind of material to children. A man who rapes his 8-year-old daughter, and what's not the horrors of what's happening to this young girl is not in the excerpt, but the sexual excitement that this pedophile gets as he's committing his act. That's what's passed along as education. This ought to infuriate you as a parent. That such, and I have a I have an 8-year-old granddaughter. I think she's 9 now. But that material talks about something being written about something that happened to someone that's my granddaughter's age. And they want to pass that off as education, a sex education. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But they will continue to do it until you and I stand up and say enough is enough. I know Parents United for Freedom are standing up. I know Moms for Liberty standing up. I know American Federation for Children. I know Liberty for the Kids. I know San Antonio and Black, White, and Brown. All of us together, all of these organizations see how damaging something like Representative Tallarico has done is. And he's on the educational committee. He's one of the members that gets to decide whether or not a bill written to advocate for school choice in Texas actually comes out of committee and is voted on the floor. Now, I realize that there is an election coming in November, and these guys will be affected by it to some degree or another. Organizations like the Texas Public Policy Foundation, Rafa Behar, I've had him on here, he was on just a couple of weeks ago, have identified members of that committee who are in the movable middle, some allies for school choice. School choice is not an attempt to defund the public school system. When a child is moved, when the money follows the child, it's not 100% of the money that follows the child. It's about 80% of the money that does. And the parent says, I want my child in this educational institution because it provides them with both an education and with moral training. Therefore, the movement of the money, the tax money that you're paying, please understand, the government is not giving you a handout to educate your children. If you've looked on your tax paperwork, your property taxes, over 50% of your property taxes go toward education. You are paying for somebody to read that stuff to your children that parent just read to the committee. You're paying somebody mega dollars to do that to your children and your grandchildren. It has to stop, people. It has to stop. It has to stop. But it won't stop unless you take action to make it stop, or the system will keep rolling forward until they're completely consumed. But I believe that you, as a partner with SABWB, you want to see and make very certain change in the arrangement of things in terms of education. 80% goes with the child, 20% stays at the school district, so that the school district actually has more money per child because 20% is left in the school. 20% of your tax money is left in the school. And everywhere school choice has taken place, there's not been a broken public school system. It may be more significant now because of the smut that they're pushing off as education. Do something, people, do something. And you can do something by your partnership with San Antonio and Black, White, and Brown. We want to be your voice in issues like this, issues like the resolution that our city just passed. We want to be heroes. This man right here, Michael Benjamin, he was successful enough in Florida to get the education student accounts, ESAs, and now Florida is enjoying school choice. He's coaching us in this move here with the Texas Public Policy Foundation, the American Federation for the Children, Parents United for Freedom, San Antonio and Black, White, and Brown, and some organizations that I didn't list, Liberty for the Kids, that are just that important. Our voices collectively must be heard, and we can be your voice. So partner with us. You see the information that is on the screen. We will gladly deliver to you your gift package, and especially your coffee cup, because you got to get ready for your Be Easy coffee that's coming. That's going to fill that cup for you. And as you sit back and read these impactful books written by the late Alan Vincent that will transform your life, you can do several things. You can go to our website at sabwb.org and follow a few simple prompts there, and you'll, in just a matter in less than a minute, you'll become our monthly partner. You can also give on Venmo at SABWB. You can give on Cash App at $SABWB. Let me just say this in closing, and then I'm going to be off for tonight. I've received 2 challenge gifts. I've received 2 challenge gifts. Now, I need you to hear me right here. One was for $5,000, and the other was for $1,000. What's a challenge gift? The giver challenges you to, with your accumulated gifts, to match their challenge gift. The giver challenges you, the listener, with your accumulated gifts to match their single challenge gift. One for $5,000, other $6,000, $1,000. So together $6,000. We can turn 6 into 12. SABWB, I have the pleasure of pastoring a church, a long-time, very stable, loving, powerful church here in the city of San Antonio, Faith Outreach Center International. We have a congregational base, and those people are bought into the vision and the mission that God has given us as far as the church is concerned, and they give weekly their tithes, their offering, their gifts of love. SABWB is not like that. We're not expecting people to tithe to us. We are expecting people to be our monthly donors, to give gifts to us, offerings, if you will. And now is an opportunity for you to give offerings that help us double the impact of these challenge gifts. I really need you to do it. I really need you to do it. Because we got some stuff we got to do going ahead. We are in our final negotiations with Mario Murillo to bring him into the city, one of the most premier evangelists in our nation, to bring him here. We haven't finalized that yet. But as it is finalized, and we're going to need every hand on deck for volunteers and for the cost associated with all that is to bring him into our city with a tent, a 3,500 seater tent that will do 4 days of revival in the month of October. And then we're getting ready for the Freedom Walk that will happen January of 2023. That's tons of stuff that is before us, and we need your partnership. We definitely need your partnership to make it happen. So go to our website, sabwb.org, become our partner there, or give Cash App at $SABWB or Venmo. There's a number of ways you can give, but those are the popular ways that people use our website. And you can also do Planning Center, as you see there. Just put to the number 84321, put SABWB and the amount that you want to give. Quick and easy. Let it all happen real quickly. And you will double that challenge gift. That 6,000 total challenge gifts will turn into 12,000. I'm grateful for those that have seen the value of what we're doing at SABWB and want to partner with us in doing so. All right, thank you for being with me again tonight. Take this, spread it around, let people hear and see and know what's happening at SABWB. Let them know that you yourself are partners with us. And then encourage them to do the same for as little as $10. And they'll get this gift package that I talked to you about at the first, and get their coffee cup ready to have one of the best cups of coffee they'll ever experience with Be Easy Coffee. Making a trip at the end of the month to Malawi to those growers and doing some going there for ministry. But we'll have an opportunity to firm up some things that will bring in tons and tons of premium coffee into the U.S. And you can buy the bag, and some with the means can sell it by the cup. Means meaning if you have a coffee shop or whatnot, and a little bit out of that, a dime out of every cup, come back to fuel ministry at SABWB. There's tons of stuff that can happen. And then we can continue to be your voice and your space in the public space. Thank you for being with me tonight. Love you big. I will see you right here next Tuesday, 8 o'clock for Transcendent. Love you big. Bye-bye now.